Welcome and good evening to Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms podcast. This is Raph streaming to you live high above the keep in the hot air balloon and also hanging out by the docks, slaying this Kraken here. Neindorf, how you doing tonight?
Very well. How about yourself?
You know what? I'm actually doing fantastic. Really happy to be doing a podcast right now, and we'll get into that in a little bit. It's been a really wild ride over the last few days, and we got some feedback from our community over the last podcast that, gosh, are these guys like negative? Or I think there was a little concern, and I think what we were bringing on the last podcast is a bit of I'll call it measured response. And right now I would say I'm feeling all sorts of different ways about the game, but overall, pretty excited, and even more excited to be here, chatting with you, Neindorf, and spitting from the hot air balloon. So, how are you?
Yeah, we're doing really good. And yeah, I think you nailed it. Like, there's so much that's happened in the last 2 days. A lot of, you know, intense, got to get this done immediately. And then, like, oh, wait, hurry up and wait. Check back. Is it still there? Is everything good? I don't know. It's just kind of been a whirlwind.
And I've had so many like, do I want to do that? Redo something, redo the redo, redo the redo, the redo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, I've had to build like multiple flowcharts for myself on Excel over the last few days just to kind of keep my thoughts straight and, try to figure out what I'm doing in Crystalvale and what I'm doing in the state of the game. So it's fantastic, and we're gonna get to a lot more of that as we go on. So, how about you hit us with the question of the day?
Yeah, let's jump right in. So, um, obviously fitting for launch of Crystal Vale here. I think that the question I've kind of got on my mind, and I chatted with some people in Discord a little bit about this today too, is where will the price of crystal settle? Or maybe another way of phrasing it is, what should it really be relative to Jewel? So what do you think?
Gosh, um, it's really interesting. I would say it's a lot higher than I expected it to be, right out of the gates. And I think what we're clearly seeing a supply and demand issue, which I think is a fantastic display of strength for the game. I think this really shows how many new players are brought into the game and how much new energy and dollars are brought into the game as well. People willing to invest in this new token. And clearly, there just is not that high of a supply of the token. And that's for a few different reasons. One, the gardens opened up before the airdrops did. And then second, and well, let's just start talking about it now. I thought one of the coolest airdrops that they did of all time is the crystal airdrop right now, where they're doing like a vested style airdrop, and so you don't get all your jewel up or all your crystal up front. You get it over a period of time, and I think that's a really clever way to make sure that you're you're not flooding the market and causing a price dump. And it's this price has been all over the place. It was like $43 a couple days ago, and $34 I believe earlier today. So yeah, I think we're seeing classic supply and demand right now. And I guess I've avoided answering your question thus far. I would say, I think it'll level out with Jewel eventually, and probably hold with it neck and neck. But we're clearly a long ways away from that happening. And by long ways, I speak maybe in crypto time frames where like an hour can feel like an eternity at times. So by that I mean probably months away from them being equal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think your end result, I believe, I'm with you. I think that they should and they will probably equal out long term. But yeah, you'd mentioned, how about new money coming in? I'm just looking right now. I see that there's almost, let's see how many, I gotta count zeros here. That's how crazy this is. Almost a $500 million staked in Crystal Vale right now. That's an absolute crazy number. And if you combine that with the amount that's still left in the Sarandale Gardens, it has to be new money brought in. And that was kind of one of our big questions going into this is how much new money is this going to bring, or is it just are people already in? And I think we've got our answer. I think this has definitely brought in new money. Um, so I think that's a good point to bring. And these, even we're maintaining these crazy high APRs in the Crystalvale Gardens, even with almost a $500 million in money invested. So I think that's probably, like you said, why, we've got an elevated price now. I mean, those are some pretty juicy APRs. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I think both of the two will end up, like we've said in the past, probably that $5 to $8 range.
Mm-hmm.
Although that being said, um, them opening up Jewel as the gas token is huge and provides a lot more utility. So I do actually think Jewel will outpace Crystal in the long run, even though it's less scarce. There's a lot more Jewel, 4x more Jewel. I still
Mm-hmm.
think that utility is going to provide that extra kick that it's going to need to keep it at a higher value long term.
Yeah, a few things that I want to comment on here, based on what you said, and I guess the first one I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. One thing that's been incredibly refreshing over the last few days has been the speed of the Avalanche DFK chain. It has been absolutely incredible, and it feels like lightning fast compared to what's happening over on Sarandale on the Harmony network. And I know they've always said that our core game is over on Harmony. I I feel like this puts the pressure on at the very least. And if I was Harmony, I would be a little concerned based on just how well this game is performing on the Avalanche network. And you got to think that there might be more people playing over here on Avalanche than there actually are on Sarandale. And so on the Harmony Network. And so, big kudos to, Mr. Fawn and the DFK team and the Avalanche group for, develop the Ava Labs group, I believe they're called, for developing this. I feel like this is incredible. So I guess before I go on with, my next thought, how have you been, liking the speed and the reliability of this network?
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I think it really shows, I guess I'll say the incremental improvements that the dev team for DFK have been making over time. And then you touched on it earlier, also with the vested airdrops. Like I can remember the first airdrop I got, I actually won something. It was awesome. This was back in like I want to say it was September. I actually, had some X Jewel at the time because it was very new. And I won at that time what I thought was great. It was a whopping 2,000 gold. And I was like, this is going to be fantastic. And that sat in a Google spreadsheet for like 5 months or something. And then finally, the devs, they made good for their promise and they paid it out and then when they paid it out, it was worth about like, uh,
2 Jewel.
$10 or something. But, anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is that was where they came from at the beginnings, and now they have their own dedicated smart contract for doling out rewards over time to not impact the economics of the game. Like that's just you just gotta soak that in a little bit. That isn't a crazy advancement in such a little amount of time.
Yeah, that really is. And I guess I don't want to spoil too much of what we're talking about later. So, I guess I'll save the rest of my commentary for that question probably as we continue to talk about Crystalvale and what our personal strategies have been over the last few days. So, um,
Perfect.
let's go ahead and transition over into the dev dive. I know something that you've been thinking about and has been near and dear to the hearts of many in our community, the Gen Zero sniping bots. What do you have in the works here? And what are I heard you've been collaborating with some other community members.
Yeah, so I mean, ever since that's kind of been happening, we've kind of said that we want to make it a goal, something that we can look into and try to somewhat combat. Um, And I've been talking with some people on Discord, and then there's the Unity DAO group. They have their own server, and basically what I've kind of learned, and then also chatting with some of the other engineers that are in the DFK Dev channel. Um, Basically, what I'm learning is that this bot is extraordinarily sophisticated, and they even go to the point of using custom smart contracts on chain to execute the bot code, such that you're not necessarily watching the chain, you're actually on the chain in smart contract form. So, unfortunately, what that means at the get-go is that that's kind of a level above what I'm able to do. I don't have the resources or time or knowledge necessarily even to really uh, keep up with that. So we've I chatted with some of these people, and I think what we kind of came up with is we are actually going to try something very different. Instead of trying to fight the bots or combat them directly, um, we're going to try somewhat of a petition, if you will, where we get a bunch of people to all drop a suggestion in the DFK dev box at round about the same time, suggesting some changes to the in-game interface to make it significantly more different between hiring and selling heroes.
Hmm.
The
Clever.
details haven't come out on what we want this to say exactly, and we're they're gathering information for people. What's the best solution that we think we should offer as a group, as a community? So we'll get more of that out there to you guys once we you know learn some more and get some more feedback from everybody, and also listeners, please head on to Discord, give us your thoughts, and we'll accumulate those with everything else. And once we learn what and when, we'll post it. But yeah, basically that's the running theory right now is the best way to fight it is to just make the two interfaces drastically different. And another idea was maybe you have to go to the portal to hire out a hero as opposed to the tavern where you buy and sell heroes. And
Right.
just that extra step, right, to make it so that people just don't even do this in the first place.
Right.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I if I have to, pick the number of stoplights or motorcycles I see before I sell a hero, I'm all on board. I think as um, as our listeners may recall, I had a bit of a snafu where I accidentally sold a sage a while back when I was trying to hire him out. I can absolutely see where this is coming from, and have been there myself, and I feel like fortunate that I recovered from that incident. Relatively well. That sage ended up dying on the perilous journey, which makes me even more bitter because I ended up buying him back. Um,
Oh yeah.
but that's neither here nor there. So I've been there. I've been in that situation, and it makes me absolutely nauseous when I think about this. And I think the challenge really comes from when you're trying to grind through, listing and relisting your guys for sale. You can, go run down a list, and kind of if you're on autopilot, you're changing your prices a little bit. And the challenge is when you're in the sell the hero tab, you see the heroes out for hire, and you can accidentally, without really thinking about it, cancel that hire and then relist them for sale in that same window, without kind of realizing what you do. So I think you're spot on that some kind of differentiation between the two that will probably knock down 99% of the accidental sells.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think now that I think of it, I have done exactly that. I didn't end up completing the transaction fully, but I was hovering over the button, and it was exactly that. I had clicked cancel hire, and I was about to rehire, and then I typed in sell, and then I moved the mouse over, and I was like, wait a minute, and so
Ooh,
it only barely registered for me. So yeah,
yikes! Yeah, it's a little frightening.
and it is, and luckily, that like I said, I caught it, but it's so easy when you have a large stable of heroes and you're doing lots of movement. Uh, and I think this is our best bet. And like I said, we'll keep you guys informed. And when if there's anything we get out of this, or if the devs make any sort of commitment or something, we'll be first to let you guys all know.
Yeah. And, honestly, I'd feel a lot different about this if it was humans buying the heroes and not bots,
Sure.
Because I feel like you'd be playing the game. And I think that's something that the dev team has always been focused on is playing the game. And I don't really see the development of bots being, fitting into that category. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys continue to come up with and develop. And good luck. And we'll keep, preaching those, words of wisdom here as much as we can. And if there is any kind of petition to change the user interface in the future, you better believe it's going to be on our Discord. All right, so next I want to jump over into Power BI as a portion of our dev dive. And so this is something that, we've been working on in the interim. You've done an amazing job of, building up the backend database on the website. And I've been spending some time in the off hours trying to figure out how I can access that and use Power BI for some reporting. So I just want to go through kind of a quick tour of the content that we have right now. And, like one of the things that, we've been working on is, some very basic reports at the time. But right now looking at hero totals, summoning the effects of, we have quite the large drop-off. Neindorf, if you kind of are following along at home on page 1, we have the drop-offs of the PJ. I really like that, drop down and you see us continuing to climb up from the survived heroes. And it's been really interesting how the overall count of heroes summoned per day has really dropped off and, almost is just non-existent here at the start of April. No one is summoning. Everyone is spending all of their free jewel in the gardens right now, which I think is just kind of funny how things have just kind of ended up and landed.
Yeah, exactly. I expected, I guess, the hero summons to slow over time. Um, but it was a little more, looking at the graph, the hero totals, it was a little more lackluster, up a little, down a little. But now, yeah, ever since after the perilous journey, and with these Crystalvale announcements, yeah, it has been very low, which honestly, is good for the game. We can't keep creating heroes infinitely.
Mm-hmm.
The prices, just won't support that. So, and then you got to add on top of that the fact that heroes are leveling up. I got my first guy just a little bit ago to level 8.
Wow.
And he's
Congrats.
one of the guys that's been stampotting. He's just fully addicted to that green substance, whatever it is. It's delicious, but and he's my leading candidate now. And I I feel like to summon right now and end up with that Gen 1 is it could be great, but you got a lot of work ahead of you in order to get competitive with that hero. And that's where, we'll have to stay tuned. Maybe these advanced quests will help heroes who are at a lower level climb more quickly. So that is possible. But I think for now, I mean, I'm looking at high level heroes and thinking, let's keep them up, keep up with the few at the front.
Well, you're in some rare company. There is just over 200 heroes who are level 8 and above. So,
Oh, really?
congratulations on
That's
that feat.
it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm jumping over onto page 2 of the Power BI report and using the fun little horizontal and vertical sliders to
Oh,
zoom in and looking at level 8 and above. So, yeah, congratulations. That's really neat. Yeah, just over 200 heroes that are at that mark.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is also just a quick show for what we're hoping to continue to develop on. Both things on the website front and on the reporting front, and as we continue to prepare for combat, that's an area that we're personally planning on making sure that our website and we know our Discord community is going to be ready to rock and roll when it comes to some dropping some great analysis. And if you like listening to the podcast, please go check us out there on Discord. We got people way smarter than us hanging out in there. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun developing these the reports, and I look forward to developing more.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, you got a great start here. I love this. I've had a little bit of time to page through this, but it's some of this is hot off the press here, so I still got to get my feet wet. And I have not in the past personally used Power BI, and so I'm still kind of getting used to the interface. But it is actually really clean and slick. So I think you've done a great job here.
I will say it makes life pretty easy. It's so I'm appreciative for that. Well, thank you. Okay, so traveling over to Sarandale, I'm on Crystalvale at the moment, and I'm gonna jump over into the tavern. We're gonna hit a bit of
Ah,
our one of our mainstays, and looking at buying heroes. And so, while all the jewel has been going towards the gardens, people are looking to liquidate their heroes as much as possible. So there's a bunch of juicy deals out there. Neindorf, what are you looking at tonight?
so as I just kind of mentioned earlier, I'm kind of looking for that um, higher level hero. So I thought, let's combine that with let's just see, I guess. Let's see what's out there for either a dragoon or a sage that's a relatively high level. They could maybe be competitive and maybe still be not too costly, if you will.
So what are
Um,
you setting your level slicer at when you hear high level or say high level?
let's Yeah, so I think for starters, I was just going to do apply, just to dragoon and sage just to see because I
Sure.
didn't even know it's been a while since I've priced these sorts of heroes, but I want to say I'd start at five. I think five's a good number. Because then, if it's an advanced, or sorry, if it's a uncommon or above, they're just going to have that extra bonus built in, and that kind of helps you
Mm-hmm.
get that couple extra stat points too. Um, okay, so um, I can't see your screen. Do you have up any heroes by chance?
Yeah, I'm showing 13 heroes right now that are dragoons or sages, a level 5 and above. Floor price starting at 125 jewels. So that's, yeah,
Yep, that
and a perilous journey survivor over here nearby.
yes, exactly. Honestly, I like to give the cards a little flip over,
Mm-hmm.
and with that nice Chrome add-on that can show you their total stats, because my feeble mind doesn't add well under fire here. But that first one even for 125 jewel, you can have a level six dragoon with 113 total stat points. Now you look at those and none of them are standoutish necessarily, but he's a well-rounded hero. He doesn't have anything that's under 10 stat points. So I and his fishing is 16.8. So he's probably pulling in some pretty decent fish to help offset those costs. Maybe start getting a little return back on your investment. So honestly, even that first one, in my opinion, is not a bad hero.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, he's looking really good. I'm impressed. All right. Well, that's awesome. I think something that, I continue to wonder is, when is the tavern going to appreciate the price of levels into the hero listing prices? I mean, that's clearly still not happening yet. And, they've already started to release some information about areas being potentially level gated. And so, in some ways, I am a little surprised that this is happening. I think I unloaded a few high level heroes a little while back. I would say, maybe around a month ago before Perilous Journey. But I've been valuing those as a premium ever since the Perilous Journey, and when they had the opportunity for a better survival chance, and I think they're going to be even more valuable in the future. If you think about it, the quests have been open now for quite a few months, and that is a lot of time that you spend clicking your life away or stampotting and still clicking
Yeah.
your life away. And so, being able to grab a level 5 hero, or in this case, a level 6 hero, I mean, I think that's pretty neat.
So how about yourself? Where are you headed? What's your hero going to be today?
All right, so my hero today, and I'm not super prepared for this, but I continue to try to look for ninjas that are rare and above, and that have the stat boost of at least 20 agility. And it's like I want to be in that ballpark of the agility tournaments, and so I'm clicking through that right now. And there is a ninja level 5 for 254 Jewel, and
Okay.
that's a lot for the price of Jewel right now. But like looking at stats, you used 105 earlier, 112
Yep.
for his stats right now for a ninja, and so that means his legendary kind of allowed him to keep up with being going against a dragoon that's a level above. So they're actually two levels above in terms of what's the advancement in class considered. Anyways,
Yep.
and so that's still where I continue to look. Is I'm trying to grab a ninja at some point, or continue to rank my ninja up. That's a rare, and he's a little far behind on levels. Going back to the whole leveling thing, and so yeah, I don't know. I think I'm really looking forward to agility being a mainstay in the game. I think that, we're going to have some kind of turn based combat style. And I think there's going to be the opportunity for really fast heroes. They'll, of course, attack first. And, me, I like to talk about the game Pokemon a lot. And there's a move called U turn where you can attack first, and then your hero actually goes, or your Pokemon goes back to your hand, and then you can play another hero or another Pokemon in its place. And so I think the same. I think I'm really wishing and hoping for a move with ninjas where they'll be able to attack first, apply some kind of debuff, and then actually allow you to sub out one of your other characters, like a beefy tank. And between the debuff and a beefy tank coming out, then I imagine you're not going to take a lot of damage. And so I think I'm really hoping for some kind of move style like that, favors agility. I think agility in a lot of turn-based games is always it's a great stat to have.
That's great. So I've been doing a little digging while you were going, and once you knock that agility down to 19, I think you might find someone interesting if you still have it up by chance.
I just brought it back down. So yeah, by agility
It is a rare ninja,
attribute.
and the price is pretty great. I don't want to spoil it for you.
All right, just click 19. Rare Ninja level 5, 195.
Oh, you still have your level 5 filter.
Oh,
Can
I
you
do.
back that down to 4? Is that still on by chance?
Oh, yeah, let me back that down.
So we're going through this exercise. Let's relax our constraints a little bit because maybe our budget doesn't allow that high jewel total.
Absolutely.
So I think this is,
Oh, Ninja
you see what I
Thief.
see?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling the Ninja Thief because that Thief is one of the best subclasses you can have for that agility percentage. Oh, you know me well. Well
He's
done.
got blue agility too
Oh, yes. Okay, so
for
87%.
69 jewel.
Boy, I'm gonna have to unload on this guy tonight and get him part of the
Oh,
stable. That is for sure.
that's a heck of a deal. So yeah, Ninja Thief, level 4,
I like gardening too
rare.
because you get to stand pot, so
Honestly,
that's pretty
you
neat.
know what? And you're right. I think the XP guarantee from gardening and stand potting makes it so that you get a lot more guaranteed XP out of your jewel that you spend on that stand pot.
Yeah.
It's something that I've learned because I don't know. I feel like I've spent way too much jewel on stand pots for like fishers or foragers for them to come back with like 80 XP, and
Uh,
it's like that
it
just
hurts.
is
It hurts.
terrible. Whereas a
Yeah.
gardener, you're always going to get at least like what 125, 130
Yeah.
if they, so that's a pretty good upper on your XP.
Yeah. Dang. You know what? I think this is a good one. Um, And you know me so well that I think I'm going to end up pulling the trigger on this before I release the podcast to
Uh,
make sure I snag this guy. Wow, I'm really excited. Well, good find. That's even better than what I found. Yeah, I think I've always had a soft spot for legendaries. I think over the long run that bonus is really going to pay off. And for the most part, and actually I would say like actually the market on mythics has come down quite a bit. But for a while there, legendaries were like that hidden value where mythics were up in the 1,000 jewel mark, and now they're coming down quite a bit. So, but I don't think I can swing getting a mythic.
yeah, and what I've noticed with my particular heroes is that um, some of the I had a couple legendaries hit that level 5 mark, and those extra bonus stats are random. So it while they do help round out your hero, you have zero chance. There's no guarantee that they're going to be in the stats you care about.
Yeah,
And
gosh,
so I got hit hard with that a couple times, and so it actually kind of made me almost favor. Obviously, you prefer legendary if the price were similar, of course. But if you're paying a premium, I think you're almost better off going for the stat genes and playing the game that or advanced abilities, of course. Don't forget those,
mm-hmm.
um, or playing the game for the devs. Like they've mentioned that the genes are going to matter in the skill tree at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So
All right, so this mythic that's also in this filter set that we have up right now, Ninja
hmm
Warrior level 4, 24 agility. Like way
yeah,
out of my price range at 625, but that is insane.
that's a
Level
good
4 and he has 24 agility. That's really good. So
wow.
whoever was leveling him up was focusing on the right things and got some really good initial rolls on
Yes,
summoning.
they did. Oh, that level 5 level up's going to be juicy too. That'll make this
Oh,
hero awesome.
yeah, that's tempting. But I do not have that kind of jewel sitting around. So maybe that segues us nicely to the next topic here. Um, what's our personal strategy? I mean, we've had a pretty monumental development since the last time we did a podcast. We have actually sold both of our Gen Zeros that me, and Walton were in on, and it's a pretty big development for us. And I've had a few people ask me already, like, "Whoa, what's going on? How do you feel about the game? Like, are you trying to get out?" And kind of like, in a way, yes, but in a way, not at all. I'm actually more excited about the game than I've ever been before. Um, and we saw the opportunity to sell some Gen Zeros, and take advantage of the current market conditions. And I would say like what we ended up deciding to do with the jewel that we got from selling those Gen Zeros. Like we've had, well, obviously just really like two different ideas, and I personally have oscillated back and forth between the two quite a bit. And that's, do you sell off your jewel for profit with seeing a bit of a micro market high right now, or do you go ahead and take those jewels and you throw them into Crystalvale Gardens and get some of those juicy Crystalvale rewards? So Nightdorf, tell me kind of your thought process as you said something to me. It was probably about a week and a half ago now on the value of Gen Zeros, and why you're pushing for selling.
Right. So, your Power BI chart really told the tale. Summoning is slowing down. Hero prices are down. And so, we having two Gen Zeros, we had a lot of equity tied up into those heroes, given our wallet sizes. We're not whales here, right?
Right.
But I think that really led me to understand that, okay, moving forward, if we're going to take our turns and we're going to summon with these Gen Zeros, you basically either you need to pair them together. So you can get that fresh Gen 1 10 out of 10 for 60 jewel. So then you can sell and make a profit.
right
At least that
now
was the
I have
theory.
the right now I have the market up
Yep.
for 10 of 10, and bottom of the market is an uncommon thief that's going for 58 jewel.
So there it is. You unless you get a good roll and you end up with like with a rare or above, you actually don't make any jewel as a as a wallet holding two Gen Zeros. And that was kind of critical in my calculation. It's like, wait a minute. So we can hold two Gen Zeros, summon them together, and not make jewel and still lose jewel on that summon. So that, along with the fact that, um, one of ours was a Steve the Pirate Miner, right? And he's,
Gardner.
or sorry, Gardner. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, Steve the Pirate Gardner. Thank you.
We would have
And
got
we,
a sexy return for a miner, that's for sure.
yeah, right. So we kind of had the idea that we wanted to sell him just kind of because of that. He wasn't the greatest of all heroes. And then that's where, well, we're like, well, either we felt like we should keep both or sell both because of that, that 60 jewel hero that you could make without having to pay rental fees. But given that you still have a possibility of losing jewel, we kind of decided that that combined with the multi-thousand% APYs in Crystalvale, it just kind of made sense for us at the moment to liquidate that and turned it into the next thing, right?
Yeah, I it does make me a little sad losing the Gen Zeros. I mean, they had a nostalgic place in my heart, but at the end of the day, as Walton likes to say, we're here to this isn't just a game for us. This is also something that is an investment, and we're looking to turn on our investment and the future path on Gen Zeros. And maybe we're being a little short sighted here, and that's certainly a possibility. But the future path of the Gen Zero value isn't very well laid out at the moment. I think they're going to continue to roll in features like the Perilous Journey, where the Gen Zeros offered protection of 3% survival to the rest of the boat. But that's like marginally valuable over the scheme of things. Like there weren't, like if you look at all the heroes that you sent, like think about like the amount of jewel that saved you. It's probably pretty inconsequential. And now that the main mechanism for the Gen Zeros providing value has disappeared, and like you said, there's also a giant opportunity cost at the moment of either the market being at a micro high or being able to lock in those juicy rewards at the moment. It felt like that was the right time, and you really convinced me with your analysis that you have to pair them together. And if you're not pairing them together, then you're losing a lot of money because hiring is at least going to cost you another 3, 4, 5 jewel, depending on getting the right partner. And so, we decided to make the choice. Let's list them, see if they go. And I think we listed them fairly aggressively, I would say as
Yeah, no
well,
doubt.
to make sure that we could take advantage of the timing too. And I'm happy we got him still initially, and it was a heck of a lot of fun to summon with our heroes over time. But it's kind of a turning a new leaf for a new page on it's a new chapter in our playing the game and investing in the game as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it has been a lot of fun with them. But and that's not to say that we couldn't ever purchase Gen Zeros again in the future. I think you hit the nail on the head and said that the roadmap for the Gen Zero store of value is murky at best right now. And I think that's really where we're at.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's go to segue a little bit to personal strategy. And again, this is not financial advice, but something that I just wanted to talk about a little bit. I think there are a couple different options, and I think maybe to the surprise of some of our listeners out there, we actually took we zigged a bit when everyone else was zagging, and kind of walk us through our conversations over the last couple days, and at least from where your mindset was and why you chose to make the decisions you did.
Yeah, sure. So, originally, if you guys are our listeners out there, we had the original plan of honestly kind of just chilling in the Sarandale Gardens as those rewards um, for people leaving for Crystalvale ticked up to about almost 500%. Um, and that was very good. I mean, we'd made a lot of jewel, and then I think the turning point, however, was when they announced the airdrops, and once the airdrops started hitting, and we see the numbers, the absolute crazy high APYs again that we haven't seen since I want to say it was probably like November or December timeframe in Sarandale, and so we kind of both had talked about this and kind of agreed, like, all right, let's exit the gardens at Sarandale, and let's scrape a little bit out to the side to capture some profit, get some of that initial investment recoup, and then dump it into these high reward gardens that are happening over in Crystal Vale. So that was kind of the first, I would say, little genesis of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's definitely not where it ended. So
No.
maybe you can take the next leg.
Yeah, sure. I think kind of a little commentary on that too. As much as everyone could speculate and guess, it was hard to imagine where things would shake out finally, and like where the APRs would land. And I think at one point they did hit 500, or they were like at 488 or 490s for the percentage APR on the Sarandale US no one jewel garden that we were in, and that was pretty awesome. Collecting, I don't know what it was, like 20 unlocked jewel a day, and we cashed that for a few days, and as we started going along and thinking about it, and then we saw the impending crystal airdrops that were about to happen, and the timing of those, and like you mentioned, we moved some of our initial investment out of the game, which felt really good. I would say that it created for me like this giant mindset shift, and this actually happened like twice during this whole extravaganza over the last week. I feel like I aged like a whole year in this last week. And
Thank you, crypto.
the first mindset shift I had was, I was so worried about like the protecting the initial investment, and it was a little bit of the, the just the challenges of every day of living in crypto. And, having gone through a couple waves of DeFi kingdoms, seeing it go up and down and up and down, and now seeing it go back up, there's the opportunity to make sure I cashed out on that initial investment. And up until this point, I had been continuing to take everything and just kept paying the earnings forward. And so just putting them back into the game, back into the game, back into the game. And like we said, a lot of that was also tied up in Gen Zeros and in the heroes, and into a less liquid state of the game itself. And so getting that initial investment out shifted my mindset to, okay, well, now I can focus on the long term. I don't need to be worried about the short term anymore. I could sleep at night, so to speak. Now that I know my initial investment's protected and covered, and so we decided that we made the jump over, and got into Crystalvale. That was pretty exciting. But for those of you who kind of already got the sneak peek, if you're watching the video and saw the amount of locked jewel that I have, you might have a couple questions on. Oh, well, I was not there for very long. And so a few other things changed. Do you want to kind of talk through maybe the next leg of the journey?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for me personally, after that, it was um, let's put some of this into US dollar stablecoin, right?
Right.
Because with these really high rates and with the, I think, somewhat astronomically high price of crystal, you want to protect yourself in these pairings a little bit from some of that impermanent loss. And that's an easy way to do it, really. Just pair it with a stable coin. I was asking some of our Discord members how much impermanent loss it would be if, say Crystal were to fall from its current rate somewhere in the mid 30s down to say like 15, say it had, um, and they someone had whipped up a calculator for me, and it actually only drops the total value you have in the pool with a stable coin by about 8%,
Wow.
which is actually really cool. So that after having taken my initial investment out, um, that led me to believe that okay, I'm gonna stay in the casino for a little while longer. I'm gonna keep rolling now that I'm playing with house money. So
Yeah.
for me personally, I am almost 50-50 split in X Jewel and Crystal US dollar coin. That way, I still think Jewel has the longer value,
Hmm.
given that it's the gas token, like we've talked about earlier. And there's, I just feel like that's going to be the center point of this game. So I really want to be in Jewel X Jewel. But then also, like I said, I wanted a pairing where I'm not susceptible to that impermanent loss as much with Crystal because I feel like it's going to have high price swings. So I am still in those two with a vast majority of my money that's invested in game, apart from my, teens of heroes that I'm still maintaining. So
Right.
that yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm still riding and I'm still trying to collect these crystals and trying to restake them. And it's still wild and I cannot stop looking at it.
Yeah. So I ended up taking a bit of a different approach today. And, as I was monitoring, I was using it's like VFAT dot, what's it called? VFAT dot tools or something like that.
Yep, VFAT.tools. Yep.
A website that, if you have your MetaMask linked to it, you can attach your wallet and it can give you some, it's a nice quick summary of the value that you have locked up in all your gardens. And for me, I was looking at, you know, I was looking at like 5 or 6x what my initial investment was after taking my initial investment out, a few days ago. And, I was kind of faced with, the reality of, this is some pretty life changing money for me personally. And, actually something that, not to get, too emotional or sidetracked on this, but, it was like a value that was, definitely, more than my family ever made growing up. And so it was really strange seeing like that value of dollars being in an investment that was originally started out as playing around money. And that was something that, I felt very fortunate to be in that position. And also wanted to just, take advantage of the opportunity to say, like maybe I'm going to just close part of the chapter on this investment. And, I actually ended up pulling now. It was about 95% of all of my liquid assets out of the game after selling the Gen Zeros. And, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do in the long term. Besides, I have a few obligations, debt obligations that I'm really excited to pay off. And so the student loans, I'm going to be saying goodbye to those next week. And outside of that, I think I'm going to get back into the gardens, probably a little bit in a very measured approach. And as the vested crystal airdrops continue to come out, I'm gonna keep putting that into the gardens, and I'm also going to take the crystal USD garden approach or the crystal AVAX approach. And I know that's something that we wanted to talk about a little bit as well. That we have strong feelings that is going to be the primary pool of the future over here in Crystalvale. So that's a little bit of my story on where I've been here and what I'm looking to do, and also really excited to play the game. And like we've said, we have a lot of heroes in the game still. The podcast is not going away for me. Like I'm going to continue to spend time around this just because I have a few less dollars in the game. Like that's all right for me. I'm actually even more excited and feeling a lot a better place mentally. And I think something that was a bit of a drag on me was that feeling after seeing the game crash, a couple times, especially crashing from that $20 mark, where I put some money, well, not quite at the 20 mark in, but some money around 15. And so being able to kind of pull some things out and recover and then get up a lot, kind of, it's like you mentioned going to the casino before. That's kind of a little bit what it felt like, where I was at the table, I was hitting a high note and decided I'm going to go to bed for the night. And it's a bit of a pause for me, and I'll hit the casino tables tomorrow night. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's good. Like you mentioned, for the mental state of it, I think that's something that we all need to keep an eye on because investing in with these amounts that can get kind of crazy in a hurry in the crypto world. It can put undue stress that people aren't really used to dealing with at some point. And it is still crypto, right? Anything could happen. Look at what happened with Axie and the bridge hack that happened.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this game is at all susceptible to that, but crypto's crypto. I mean, a lot happens in a very short amount of time, and if that's something that you need to insulate yourself from, I absolutely do it. So I think I think you made a great move for your personal situation.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, what else? Any closing remarks? I kind of jumping over to our notes page, and I think we hit all the talking points that we had for today. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we're so focused on all of these big returns at the moment, and it's like we gotta have to remember that, we actually still don't have a technical game launched here yet. You know what I mean? Like we've got advanced questing coming out, we've got, stat-based combat coming out. Pets are going to be hatching soon, we hope. The leaderboard was just launched, as we learned last time, live actually, which is fun.
Right.
And then it's just like all these facets of the game are still coming, and I think I think that's what you're probably getting at when you say you're more excited about the game than ever, and it's kind of because of the game is about ready to just hit stride. It feels like, does that make sense?
Yeah, geared up and ready to go. I certainly am feeling it, and I think to me the giant accelerant is how well the game plays. It's how well the game was thought out. Like coming over here to Crystalvale, like the being able to be in the docks and to switch your chain in game in your browser, and then once you're over here, how well the game is executing too. Like I just. They might have stumbled a little bit on launch day with some RPC challenges, but seeing how well things have picked up, I mean, I am just overall blown away. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll do everything they can to keep those sort of issues at bay. It is nice that they have a little bit more control over everything on the
Yeah.
actual chain that's their own chain. So I think uh, that'll be something else to look forward to too. So yeah, couldn't be more bullish.
All right. Well, we started the night in the hot air balloon, and we're ending the night in the snake tree. So take care and have a good evening, folks.